Hello, World Wide Web. I'm Dr. Shado, the internet personality with the best hair. And man, time flies when you got a space warp in the closet. But nevertheless, today we'll be looking at House 4. The final House movie, House 4, was released direct-to-video back in 1992. It is also the only sequel in the House franchise to actually follow up another movie, with William Katt returning to reprise his role as Roger Cobb from House 1. Oh well, as long as the character name and the actor who played them are really the only things you care about. I mean, their family history, their family itself, who they're married to, is their child a boy or a girl, is that not really that important of details to get right? So this is a follow-up that makes less sense the more you know about the series. Either way, Roger Cobb is back with a new wife and daughter. However, his stepbrother has nefarious plans for the house that Roger's father left him. That's not gonna fly, because it's one of those sacred places that tends to go all poltergeist when you do shit like that. And this plot is somehow stretched over 90 minutes. How? Well, let's take a look at House 4 and find out. The film opens on the actual star of the show, Terry Trees, who plays Roger's wife for this tale, Kelly. However, right now, Roger Cobb, played by William Katt, is still the guy who gets the plot moving, along with his stepbrother Burke, played by Scott Burkholder.
Roger, I could turn this place into a gold mine.
You couldn't turn cow shit into manure.
You see, Burke wants the house for money, but Roger had the house left to him by his father. Kind of like how in the first movie, the house was left to him by his aunt. Hell of a family he's got. Hey, Raj! Hey, I got another house over here. You interested? Burke says their dearly departed daddy doesn't determine the direction of this deal, but Roger's not hearing it. Besides, it's time to go. Just as soon as Kelly can convince their daughter, Laurel, played by Melissa Clayton, to put the dog lamp back.
I already named him Algernon.
Algernon.
Yeah.
In reference to the poet, or the mouse that got brain surgery to become super smart? Either way, that's a hell of a thing for a 12-year-old played by an 18-year-old to name her pet lamp. So the house is old and creepy, but nothing suggesting any supernatural spooks has happened yet. Therefore, our handy-dandy older native wise man shows up, Ezra, played by Ned Romero. He has wise words for Kelly, who wonders what to do with this old house.
There are many memories of the past still sleeping in this house. The Great Spirit will guide you.
Just follow the script and you'll be okay. Burke still wants to shake things up and get this house from Roger, though. He points out he even already made a deal! Which sounds like his own problem to me, selling people things he doesn't even own, but Roger still won't budge. It's their family house, and he intends to keep it. So Burke bids his brother farewell, before getting into a car with scary-looking goons at the ready.
Maybe I should have given him the house.
Was that supposed to be a punchline?
You have honored your grandfather's agreement.
Now the spirits will rest again.
Whoa, hold on there, Chief wraps it up. What the hell am I supposed to tell the viewers? This is gonna be 5 minutes of jack shit?
No, you go on.
Okay. Well, guys, I hate to break it to you, but we got 80 more minutes of this to go through. With everything hunky-dory, the Cobb family hits the road, ready to leave the house behind until the next scheduled visit and spirits calming thing. You see, in the dirt floor basement, there just so happens to be a secret compartment. Secret like those obvious cracked and miscolored walls in Zelda, but secret nonetheless. It contains a mystical seal, so toss some dirt on it and it looks adequately rustic. Moving on, we see Roger is explaining to Kelly how that house has been in the family for generations, and they've always promised to keep it, so that's why they have it. Well, with that explanation out of the way... dangerous, but fine, they can still regain control. Okay, bad accident, but it's a well-built car, not the worst situation. So maybe there's a gas leak, but as long as everyone gets out in time, they'll be fine.
Kelly!
Well, she's still got time to... survivable, he's probably fine. Or burnt to a crisp with no arms or legs looking like Anakin Skywalker. You know, actually, Anakin survived that and he can too. Still, that's just life support. He can recover on his own. Never mind, he's fucking dead. So let's transition from that flatline to the happy day when Kelly decides, hey, I'm gonna move into Roger's old family house along with my daughter, who, now paralyzed and fitted with a classic wooden wheelchair, bears a striking resemblance with Clara from Heidi, Girl of the Alps. But sadly, I don't see any cliffs nearby. Also, Roger's here too. In an urn, but it still counts. There's also Kelly's father, played by Dabbs Greer. He's here to help her move in, but actually spend the entire time trying to talk her out of it to move on with her life.
He would want me to be here.
Kelly, I just wish for once in your life you weren't so...
Gonna miss your playing, Dad.
Well, if everything already being perfectly fine wasn't enough to stop this movie, dear old Dad and his overbearing wishes don't stand a chance. So he leaves this house and never comes up again. Now Kelly and Laurel can do the important stuff. Pick out broken glass and make plans for the future of the house, while having those handy-dandy flashbacks. Laurel wants a Halloween party, so remembers her first Halloween.
Dad made me carry around that dumb flashlight because he thought I'd get hit by a car or something.
Kinda odd to mock being overly cautious in this franchise. In this movie. The memories cause even more memories to flood back into Kelly's mind, overwhelming her!
Mom?
Okay, if this turns all Hellraiser and Roger comes back from the gore demanding more sacrifices to make him whole again. You know, actually, I'm not completely against that. This wound requires washing, which is easier said than done when your pipes are full of all that Nestle quick powder from the last movie. However, then there's a knock on the door. Heading downstairs, Kelly discovers someone oddly snooping about. This would be Verna Klump, played by Denny Dillon. She says she's a housekeeper and here to work. This despite the fact that Kelly never hired a housekeeper.
The agency sent me. I got my work papers right here.
What agency? Did my father set this up?
I guess so.
Man, this woman is a con artist's dream. Yeah, Kelly has no idea where she came from, but she says she's just here to clean shit up, and that's good enough for her. The more pressing matter is that weird noise Kelly keeps hearing. Thinking it has to do with the piping, she heads into the basement. And oh, fiddlesticks, wouldn't you know it, she just so happened to drop her flashlight into that not-so-secret seal. Let's get some fresh blood on that. Magic loves fresh blood. Now, she never removes the easily removable boards, instead fishing around for the flashlight, which then explodes, causing her to flee in terror. With the exploding flashlight in hand, so I'm not entirely sure what she intended to accomplish there. Oh well, it seems Verna has up and fucking left on her first day on the job, so they're gonna have to think about cleaning this house their damn selves. First thing that comes to mind is a good old-fashioned yard sale. Sure, this is the only house for miles, but if that doesn't count as suburban, then I don't know what does. More importantly, Kelly's hand has magically healed itself. Those natural remedies are something else. Now to spend her first night in that house without Roger. Oh, Roger. It looks just like I remember you, screaming in terror with me behind the wheel. Now it's time for the big yard sale. Priceless antiques of unknown value must go for literal nickels and dimes. However, it's not all fun games and terrible profit margins. Those kids over there have working legs. Unlike Laurel. So sad. There's only one way to make her feel better. Somebody please go over there and break those kids' legs! What they sell, who they meet, and how much money they make really aren't the important parts of this scene anyway. Rather, the fact that Kelly just realized that Roger wanted to watch home movies on that projector, and therefore she will not be selling it to Steve Vinovich on this day or any other day! Also, Burke shows up to demand that Kelly give him the house, but she says no. Therefore, he says this place is not good for poor little her and her crippled kid. They're better off selling it and moving somewhere nicer and more wheelchair accessible.
Now, with the money that you make off of this, you can do something really nice for Laurel. You could get her an operation.
What fucking operation? She's paralyzed. They don't have that operation. They didn't have that operation in 1992 when this movie came out, 1990 when it was filmed, or now in 2020. With the love of her child angle not working, Burke moves on to, hey, I got a sweet deal I'm working on that involves this house, and you can get a nice fat cut if you cooperate. That also fails, so he moves on to simply threatening her.
Roger's dead. You're all alone, and I want this house.
Well, since you put it that way, police! He lets that sales pitch simmer for a while, heading off with his now even more obviously bad goon friends, while Kelly heads back inside, only to find that poor Roger has been spilled all over the floor.
Mrs. Cobb, are you all right?
Does that count as haunting when you haunt your own remains, or is that just a really well-done zombie? Kelly is feeling a bit shaken, what with all the strange noises and spooky things she's seen, so she opens up to Verna. However, then they both hear strange noises coming from the basement.
Jesus, lady, don't do that. I got a pacemaker.
Who are you?
The plumber.
The plumber?
Al.
Played by Paul Keith, and yes, he is there to fix the pipes. She did, canonically, hire a plumber and then just forget she hired a plumber so that she can get spooked by a plumber being there that she completely fucking forgot about for no good reason. A much more effective means of sending chills of terror down her spine is, of course, when Al here hands her the bill.
I can't afford this.
Well, then why the fuck did you hire a plumber? Matter of fact, why in the hell did you move into this place that obviously needs a hell of a lot of work, with the intent of fixing it up your damn self if you can't even afford to get the pipes cleaned? Well, when you have bills you can't pay and a house you can't afford with a family you can't stand.
I'm your pizza man, I'm your pizza man, and I'm delivering your favorite pizza pie. I'm your pizza man, I'm your pizza man.
May as well say fuck it and get delivery, because it's not like you can pay for this either. The pizza man, played by Kevin Goetz, gets his $12.50 from Laurel, as evidently she called for dinner today. However, this is a spooky, spooky horror movie, so instead of pizza, the box is pizza face! Terrified, Kelly braces Laurel for what she is about to show her.
Oh, gross! Anchovies? Yuck, take them off, please.
Okay, I understand the joke, but the story is that you called, right? Anchovies don't come standard, like, ever. However, when her back is turned, the pizza turns back into the pizza monster and does battle with Kelly in horrifying pizza sauce and cheesy tentacle fashion. It takes all she has to fight off the greasy menace and destroy its cobs of death once and for all.
Mom? You happy now? No more anchovies!
Ah, that's what you were doing, setting up this punchline. Not bad, worth a chuckle, but in order to get here, we had to do several things to set it up that made no fucking sense the whole way. At least she realizes it to some degree, pulling out a handy-dandy library of what the fuck is wrong with me self-help books. That's probably nothing serious. The best way to calm down is with a nice hot shower. This is probably one of my favorite scenes. No, not because of the titties. The blood shower and the horrifying pizza monster splattering sauce everywhere with cheese tentacles, it gets into territory that's not all that different from something like Evil Dead. And the titties, of course. Of course, the calm cascade of crimson doesn't last, what with the horrifying realization that now the towels are ruined! Oh, and the warning of impending death and the quick glimpse of your extra well-done husband's corpse are a bit concerning as well. Now she's pretty sure she's seeing things that aren't really there, so what to do when your daughter is suddenly sucked into her bed? Well, grab that handy-dandy knife, of course, and stab it furiously, trying to dig as deep as you can. Now, come on, horrifying ghostly vision things. We're most of the way through this, and I'm still waiting for the body count to go above 1. But the ghosts aren't that mean, I suppose. Still, Kelly figures it's best to talk to Ezra about this. After all, he's the wise native. He's gotta have some insight on this haunted house crap. Indeed he does. You see, the house was a gift from his ancestors to Roger's ancestors, and the spirits aren't at rest because Roger's spirit is currently trapped in between the worlds of the living and the dead.
How can he be trapped anywhere?
Because he died at the hands of another.
Ooh, Kelly for the driving? Or signing the order to terminate? Or the doctor who pulled the plug? Or maybe the gas station attendant who filled the tank? Or whoever manufactured the tire? I mean, exactly how strict did this rule have to be? Here's hoping you don't remember that question for too long, because we suddenly jump into the totally unrelated Burke and his two goons. They're heading to a happy chemical company that has billboards about how they're all family-friendly and nice. But at the factory, it turns out they are evil bastards who only care about money, as we see with their main export of toxic waste. Though they also have a smaller business dealing with non-toxic waste. This is all led by the little big bad Mr. Grosso, played by Mark Gash. The plan, you see, was to acquire that house and the well underneath to pump out the water and then pump in the toxic waste. Which is a hell of a lot more complicated and expensive than the classic just dump it in the ocean strategy. But the point is, Burke still doesn't have the house. But first... Get it? Because he's Mr. Grosso. That's not funny at all. That's just fucking disgusting. Wonderful. If the phlegm pumping scene isn't disgusting enough for you, don't worry. They pull a goddamn Hellraiser judgment, and let's move on because I'm feeling nauseous just scripting that. With that encouragement, Burke sends the goons in wearing masks to frighten the family into moving out. These are comedy goons, though, so the little girl in a wheelchair can kick their asses just fine. And when they escalate things...
You pissed off the bug!
Algernon has come to life to save the day! Usually don't see lamps turn into dogs. It tends to be the other way around. The scene makes it seem like the movie's morphed into Home Alone and then full-on haunted house Home Alone as Algernon bites their asses, chasing them right out of the building. No. Algernon.
Many of you feel bad for this lamb. That is because you're crazy. It has no feelings.
And the movie just moves on. Yeah, Laurel fell down the stairs, and that's horrible and everything, but the beloved lamp dog never even remotely comes up again. We just forget Algernon ever existed. The important thing is that Laurel is horrifyingly injured. Like, more than before. But it's not that serious. I just think it'd be advisable for her to spend the night in the hospital. Yeah, it's just as good. All Laurel is talking about right now is how she doesn't want to go back to the house. With that in mind, Kelly calls Burke up and says she's open to the idea of selling him the house. But first, she has to spend that final night all alone, resulting in more spooky haunting, like ghosts making sure she is safe and comfy in bed. And let's not forget... The home movies begin playing in a well-lit room just floating in the middle of the air, no projector screen in sight. And the projector turned on its own, of course, but that's hardly the most outlandish thing here. The home movie is all sweet and cute and all, but I'm just sitting here wondering who the hell was filming it the whole time. That's not what's important, though. The key is that Kelly realizes that she's been haunted all this time by her beloved Roger. Therefore, when Burke shows up, ready to make a deal, Kelly has a new offer. He can own the house, but it has to stay, and she can visit all she likes. Obviously, this doesn't work for him, but more importantly...
How did you know about what happened to Laurel?
What?
How did you know about what happened to Laurel?
There was this big recurring theme involving candy and candy wrappers and a very specific candy that very squarely puts Burke and his goons at the scene of the crime, but as you can see, that wasn't actually important at all, so I didn't bother fucking bringing it up. It's the fact that he knew Laurel was hurt that clues Kelly in that she cannot trust Burke. Just like anyone in any movie ever named Burke. So she kicks his ass out. But what's this? The two goons are here as well. Or not, as they just fade out of existence. Or, well, maybe that was supposed to be a walking through the wall effect, as this is another one of those handy-dandy haunting visions. Yeah, they can exist outside the house now, so I don't know which writer Algernon pissed off, but the important thing is that on the fateful night when Kelly had her accident... it was actually Burke who orchestrated it all along. And he just really lucked out that after blowing out the tire, the car did happen to flip over and catch fire, and Roger just so happened to be the only one trapped inside when it blew up, and he died from that. I mean, his plan was incredibly stupid, but it worked out in the end.
Yes. I'd like to report a horrible accident.
Okay, never mind. The plan was even dumber than I thought. So you called for help before anything blew up, in a position where you shouldn't have any knowledge that anything was going on, which would mean that you should have been the prime suspect right away. Why weren't you? Knowing that Burke killed her husband to try and get at the Great Seal, she seeks Ezra's wisdom, who doesn't have anything to do with this drama and just tells her to call the police. She's not here for logical recourse against illegal activity, though. She wants supernatural help to drive away the evil. In the meantime, though, Verna helps bring Laurel back to the house she can't stand, but notices some sneaky stuff going on outside.
What are you doing?
What does it look like? I'm reading the meter. Come on, grab her legs.
You know, that is exactly how I respond to meter readers out here. And exactly what they do to me, come to think of it. The goons are actually here to set fire to the property, pouring gasoline all over, even striking the camera, and then doing it again, so it's kind of obvious the director told them to. The problem here is the house is still haunted, and horrifies them with ironic visions of snakes and bugs. Also, we luck out that these two are effectively brain dead, as when they see each other or snakes and bugs, they open fire! Then, after realizing they've been shooting each other, they see it again and just shoot each other again anyway! But the fire starts anyway because there was some slow-burning powder in one of those casings that touched the gasoline. Even though it's the fumes that ignite, so the gunfire should have made the whole basement blow up just the same, but oh well.
911. Yes. I'd like to report a horrible fire.
Oh, for fuck's sake, I'd like to report a horrible plot. This is around when Kelly returns from Ezra's guidance to find out she should probably call the police. So, after finding out from Verna that Laurel is still inside, she rushes into the burning building, which is generally advised against as you're more likely to end up killing yourself than you are saving anybody. And indeed, long before she reaches Laurel, Kelly just falls the fuck over dead. But this is a means to have her finally meet up with Roger again, so he can tell her, "Fuck are you doing here? You can't die yet, you gotta raise the kid." At which point she comes back to life and reaches Laurel. The fire department's also here, but then... the magic seal under the magic well explodes with magic water everywhere, allowing the house to still be completely destroyed. Water damage is a thing, you know. But this water doesn't damage, it cures all ailments. You know what that means. While Kelly and Laurel are still struggling to escape due to Laurel's paralysis, wouldn't you know it, she magically heals right up and can walk again. Yes, staying low is the best option in a burning building, but they stand straight up and march out of the house alive. Burke, on the other hand, is chatting it up with Grosso, who just showed up out of nowhere to ask how his investment is doing.
They're too goddamn stupid.
Wouldn't you know it, Grosso didn't show up. That was another haunting vision masking Verna, who is actually a secret agent who was investigating something and was getting help from the ghosts, who I guess were also in on the investigation? The fuck? That's hardly the craziest thing here. One of the arresting officers is none other than Roger fucking Cobb, which Burke sees, but not for long as he has to go. His planet needs him. And that's it. House is destroyed, family's in jail, there's a couple of dead guys in the basement, and you're pretty well in debt for the rest of your lives. The end. Nothing quite like crippling financial insecurity to really drive the happy ending home now, huh? Well, that was House 4. And it felt like a House movie. That doesn't mean it was a good movie. The House series is all about hauntings and supernatural stuff that doesn't have to follow the rules of meat space in order to be acceptable within the narrative. The problem with House 4, though, is that this attitude towards logic and reason extends to the characters, the plot, and pretty much anywhere the writers decide in service of whatever drama or joke they have in mind. That's not even the movie's biggest problem, though. For all the haphazard setup and storytelling, the flow of the movie is a lot slower than you might expect. And there really isn't much of importance that happens for a long time. This leaves a good chunk of the running time feeling really boring. Not alien origin, let's spend 20 minutes watching She came through the woods with no dialogue boring, but when you've got disagreements between a teenage daughter and her mother who is suffering from horrifying visions every time she turns around, and their scenes together could well be used as treatment for insomnia, that's not good. There are some things to like in House 4. The acting is fine for what it is. It's campy as hell, and it's hard to pretend it's not supposed to be when you see the barrels of non-toxic waste in here, and some of the spooks are at least fun. The thing is, the good parts are very few and far between, and the meat of the feature is just such a slog to get through, which is especially odd as a movie in the House franchise. At the end of the day, House 4 is just not an enjoyable film to watch. It doesn't upset me, or make me feel uneasy, or leave me feeling broken, or anything like that. It bores me. It bores the ever-loving fuck out of me, and that is one of those things you never want to have to say about a movie. Coming in at 1 projectile-puking pizza pie out of 5. Kind of a sad ending for the House franchise. It went from an honestly original, creative haunted house flick to this crazy, wacky Alice in Wonderland adventure to a dark and gruesome personal tale of horror to whatever the fuck is going to fill out 90 minutes of runtime, eh? Thank you all for watching. I've been Dr. Shado. And remember, try not to weave storylines into your review show for YouTube, because just one errant copyright claim and suddenly everyone's watching it out of order and nothing makes sense anymore. And that is not a joke. You hear me? My career is not a joke, you ass!
No more anchovies!